you have taken heed of my words and traveled to the Tython system. You have learned much along the way. The lessons have increased your weight in the Force. Good. Good. You have proven yourself strong enough for the path of power. We shall see if you are strong enough to stay on it. Unlocking History of the Force. Processing. After the Jedi fled the ruins of Tython, they settled on the outer rim world of Ossus. There, they would establish an academy and seclude themselves, dedicating their order to the repression of the Bogan and the study of the Ashla. Over time, their order grew. In the wake of the Rakatan collapse, the galaxy tried to piece itself back together. Rakatan technology lay abandoned across the stars, and Corellian and Duro engineers would successfully reverse engineer their hyperdrive technology. An age of expansion and exploration would begin that would quickly bring species into contact with one another. The Galactic Republic was founded as a consequence. While the Jedi supported the Republic's vision of peace, they at first refused to join with them, instead preferring to remain on their own world in relative isolation. While the Jedi would remain excluded from wider galactic events, they were welcoming to those that wished to visit their world. These outsiders brought with them their beliefs and philosophies, and these, in turn, would influence the Jedi. The Kamasi teachings of Haspicia Tikla, in particular, would shape the Order's philosophy, and especially their perceived role as peacekeepers. The Jedi High Council also began to exert its authority, passing several restrictive regulations. But sometimes, when one tightens one's grip, all you do is invite challenge. Resistance began to form to the increasingly strict rules of the Jedi Code. One man in particular began to chafe under the study of only the Ashla aspect of the Force. This man was named Zendor, and he was a powerful Jedi Knight. One day, he approached the Council and asked for their permission to open another academy far from Ossus, one dedicated to the study of the Bogan and other aspects of the Force besides the Ashla. The Jedi Council refused his request, and afterward, Zendor quietly left the Order. He traveled to the core, and there opened an academy on the world of Latau. His school was open to the study of any aspect of the Force, Bogan, Ashla, or Shade of Bendu, the Middle. Zendor would hold to the belief that there was no light or dark within the Force. He, too, would see the Force as a mirror, one which reflected the infinite philosophies inherent to conscious life. Students flocked to his banner, and they would begin to call themselves the Legion of Latau. The Jedi Council, in their arrogance, decided they would not allow such a popular offshoot organization to survive, and they declared war. At first, the two sides were stalemated. Zendor led a preemptive strike on Ossus in order to draw the fighting away from the core, but he was defeated. The Jedi could not complete the victory on their own, however, so they began to maneuver in a way that forced Zendor deeper and deeper into the core worlds. When Zendor sent agents to the Republic to warn them of the potential cost the conflict could take on civilian centers, he found the Jedi there ahead of him. They had poisoned the Republic against him, branding him a rogue warlord and a criminal. Instead of potential friends, Zendor found only a sea of enemies, and the Republic joined the war against him. Fighting spread throughout the core, culminating in the Battle of Columbus. There, Jedi Master Adwisha Pina managed to slay Zendor in single combat, effectively ending the first great schism among the Jedi. The legions of Latau were hunted down and dispersed, and the Jedi Order grew in strength. While they had not fully joined with the Republic during the war, instead remaining allies but separate, the Jedi had grown closer to the fledgling government. And so when the Order received reports of suspicious military movement coming from the Tianese, a rival government based in the Outer Rim, they passed them along to the Galactic Republic. Despite these warnings, the Republic was caught off guard when the Tianese invaded. The enemy attacked all along the Parlamenian trade route, and the Republic was pushed back. The Jedi pulled back to their world of Ossus and debated what to do. While the war raged around them, and the stars burned, they bickered amongst themselves. Finally, the Order's new Kamasi morality pushed them to offer their aid as battle commanders, and the war quickly swung in the Republic's favor. The Tianese were pushed back into the Outer Rim. After the fighting finally ended, the Jedi offered to join the Republic. They would remain independent of the galactic government, but would form a network of watchmen and peacekeepers along the Parlamenian, protecting the fledgling democracy from incursions by the Hutts. For many thousands of years, peace more or less reigned. The Jedi and Republic had obtained an equilibrium that brought order to the galaxy. Most of the Tian cluster joined the Republic in the wake of the former's failed invasion, and the Hutts became embroiled in internal affairs. But eventually, the politics inherent to all governments took its natural course. Fanatics and ideologues began to form, and one of these, Contispex I, would form a cult known as the Pious Dei. The cult would grow to become powerful, and Contispex would be able to use his influence to gain even the seat of Supreme Chancellor of the Republic. Once in office, he would use that position to institute the Pious Dei as the official ruling body. The Galactic Senate remained, but became a slave to the cult's will. Species other than humans were persecuted and hunted down, and genocide was committed against many races. These crusades would be carried out from massive cathedral ships, built by the Dei to the glory of their goddess. The Pious Dei would rule for over 1,000 years. During this time, a period known as the Recusal, the Jedi would officially secede from the Republic and withdraw to their world of Ossus. There, they would remain isolated for the next millennia, too fractured and weak-minded to stop the Dei's mad crusades. Some few Jedi would become knights errant and would take the fight to the Pious Dei of their own violation, against the will of the Council. Others still would pledge themselves to the Dei's cause and become the Order of the Terrible Glare. This splinter group would eventually be destroyed, but the damage had been done. Divisions began to appear once more in the Jedi Order. Eventually, the Kamasi would approach the Order, and the famed ethicists would finally convince the Jedi to join the effort against the Dei. A coalition between splintered dissidents from within the Republic Navy and the Jedi finally defeated the Pious Dei by boarding the flagship of Chancellor Contispex XIX and arresting him for war crimes. After this was done, the Jedi dissolved the Galactic Senate and placed Jedi Grandmaster B.L. Ductavis in the office of Supreme Chancellor. The Jedi would then rule the galaxy for generations before finally handing the Republic back to a reformed Senate. Remember this the next time a Jedi tells you they do not seek power. After returning to Ossus and returning the galaxy to the status quo, the fractures that had begun to form in the Jedi during the Dei Crusades exploded once again. A subgroup of Jedi had begun experimenting with the Bogon in a practice they called alchemy. This power gave them unnatural abilities and let them shape life into whatever form they deemed fit. Some even said their power could be used to end death itself. As they had with Zendor, the Jedi High Council reacted in fear and tried to ban the use of these new abilities. Jedi Knights such as Ajunta Paw, Karnus Mur, and Lady Zosan broke away from the Order and raised armies of monstrosities to attack the Jedi and the Republic in an event known as the Second Great Schism. The war would rage back and forth for a century, and this time would be called the 100-Year Darkness. But the so-called Dark Jedi were outnumbered. They could not hold forever, and finally they were defeated on the world of Korbos. There, the Dark Jedi were rounded up, and while the Republic called for the execution of their prisoners, the Jedi instead chose to banish them from known space. This would be a decision they would come to regret dearly. The exiles would eventually come to land on the world of Korriban, a world steeped in the dark side. There they would find the humanoid species known as the Sith. The Dark Jedi would use their knowledge of the Force to seize power for themselves, and the strongest among them, Ajunta Paw, would become the first Dark Lord of the Sith. Over time, the name of Sith would come to be the title not only of the indigenous species of Korriban, but also to the followers of the dark philosophy of Ajunta Paw and the other Dark Jedi. The Sith Empire had been born. The Empire would come to dominate over 100 worlds, the Dark Lord ruling from the capital world of Ziost. The Sith would enter a golden age, their civilization eventually culminating in the rule of Marka Ragnos. Marka Ragnos was one of the most powerful and wisest Sith Lords to ever reign, but even he could not stave off death forever. When he finally did succumb, a power vacuum was created among the Sith. By the time of his death, so long had passed that all but a handful within the Empire had forgotten the Republic. While Ludo Kresh and Naga Sadow, the two most powerful Sith still living, gathered their power to fight over Ragnos' throne, two hyperspace explorers from the Republic crash-landed on Korriban. Some within the Empire argued the explorers were a precursor to invasion, but Naga Sadow saw opportunity. He arranged for the explorers to be rescued and for them to escape the planet, using the resulting chaos to destroy his rival, Ludo Kresh, and seize for himself the mantle of power. Sadow would declare himself Dark Lord, and then he would order an invasion of the Republic. The Great Hyperspace War had begun. Sadow struck at multiple systems at once, using an ancient Sith meditation sphere to enhance his powers and project illusions of his troops to enhance his numbers. The tactic worked, and the Dark Lord was able to drive the Republic back even into the skies of Coruscant itself. But his plan was flawed. Sadow failed to account for betrayal. One of his servants saw a chance to try to usurp him, and Sadow's concentration lapsed, just for a moment, and that was all that was needed for his illusions to fail. Seeing how outnumbered the Sith truly were, the Jedi counterattacked, and the Republic drove deep into Sith space. Supreme Chancellor Paltimo called for the sacking of the Sith worlds, and Korriban, Ziost, and others were completely destroyed. The Sith species was driven to the point of extinction and would be thought lost for centuries. Naga Sadow was able to escape, and he would flee to the moon of Yavin 4 with some of his Massassi warriors. There, he would build massive Sith temples and then go into suspended animation to avoid the clutches of death. And the galaxy would again have peace for a time. What lessons are there to be pulled from this tale? Across the galaxy, some few beings in positions of power will understand. One must sometimes seize destiny if real changes are to be made. Zendor knew this when he defied the will of the Council to accept the whole nature of the Force. Contespex knew this when he tore down the institutions of democracy for his own ends. Naga Sadow knew this when he seized upon opportunity outside his control to climb above his rivals. Ajunta Paul and his Dark Jedi knew it, refusing to submit to the will of the Jedi simply because the Jedi demanded it. Even Jedi Grandmaster Biel Ductavis and his order knew this when they seized the reins of power for themselves and ruled the galaxy. Sometimes, the tides of fate will align in such a way that a single push, a single choice, can have power that echoes for generations. This means, for you to achieve your ends, you must know when to act. You must not wait for others to reach the same conclusions. You must take the reins for yourself and make the choice that sets the state of the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. To know when the tides of fate have aligned, to see when your moment has come, and more still, to have the power to take it. This is a power some rare few have ever come to master, and it is one the Force does not have a monopoly on. You must strike like a bear sloth, and this is something even those who cannot feel the Force can learn. To strike only when the moment is right is a skill which can be aided by the Force, but which one really comes through experience. You must seek out the worlds I have spoken of, find Ziost, walk the surface of Korriban. Only when you have heard the call of the Force within the Valley of the Dark Lords will I unlock the next portion of this history. If you survive, you will have gained some measure of knowledge about the things I speak. Go now, and may the Force break your chains.